call the meeting to order of the Pittsylvania County Board of Supervisors work session Tuesday, March 17, 2024, 30 p.m. in the Chatham Community Center, Main Street, Chatham. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Mr. Davis.
Present.
Mr. Dudley.
Present.
Mr. Farmer.
Here.
Mr. Ingram.
Here.
Dr. Miller.
I see him walking in. Hey, just walking in.
Mr. Scarce.
Here.
Mr. Warren.
Here. Okay, we're down to, are the items to be added to the agenda?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I have a long list of items to be added to closed session. Item number 8, B, consultation with legal counsel employed or retained by public body regarding specific legal matters requiring the provision of legal advice by such counsel. And this will be for legal authority, Virginia Code 2.2-3711A8, and that's for items 1, 2, and 3. First one is County Sheriff Cooperative Agreement. Item 2, Pittsylvania County Code 35-50. Item 3, Delta Response Team General Contract for Services. And finally, on that part of closed session, general contract for services, and that's for legal authority 2.2-3711A8, subject to potential violation of county fiscal policy. Also, on the business meeting, well, I guess that's for that. I'm sorry.
That's for that.
That's it, sir.
Got a motion to amend the agenda. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion on the amendment to the agenda? And we are voting electronically, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Motion made and seconded, no discussion. Please cast your votes.
I'm going to ask for Dr. Miller's verbally since we haven't got set up yet. Dr. Miller.
Yes.
Thank you.
Please record the vote. Motion carries unanimously. Can I get a motion to approve the agenda as amended?
So moved.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Scarce, seconded by Mr. Davis. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, please cast your vote.
Dr. Miller. Thank you.
Please record the vote. Motion carries unanimously. For the citizens' convenience, all work sessions and community meetings are now being recorded and can be viewed on the same YouTube location as the Board of Supervisors business meetings. Please remember that the board's work sessions is designed for internal board and county staff communications, discussion, and work. It is not a question and answer session with the audience. Accordingly, during the work session, no questions or comments from the audience will be entertained respectfully. Any outbursts of disorderly conduct from the audience will not be tolerated. It may result in the offending person's removal from the work session. As a reminder, all county citizens and other appropriate parties as designated by the board's bylaws are permitted to make comments under the hearing of the citizens section of tonight's business meeting. Presentations, SCS broadband update. Mr. Stewart.
Good afternoon. So I'm going to go over the project over the last several months and start off with the negative and end up with the positive, the facts. The project has been quite effective, as all our projects across the state. For the last 16 months, every dollar that we have gotten from grants, every dollar that we have invested personally in every piece of equipment, on every tower, on every home, we've lost 30% due to the Chinese tax. It's just a fact. The politics is just a fact. It has affected us. SCS has eaten all these costs. We have not passed it on to any consumer. Every radio in every house has this tax. A line item of 20 radios for a house, an invoice has a line item that says $700 for those 20 radios. $1,005 per radio we put on a tower, we put 4 of those on the other 2 towers. It's been an effect on us. 5.5% tax to the state started in May of last year, so it's 35.25% loss of every dollar we have spent. It has made an impact statewide on us somewhat. We're probably about 5 towers to 6 towers behind where I thought we'd be this time across the state, not this county. This county, 2 towers are affected out of those 5. We also, and we're mitigating this issue for all the money that we did spend and have invested into this county, had a 50% grant from the Tobacco Commission, and we had, with that, agreed on terms of May 12th of last year with the Tobacco Commission in the what was going to be accepted as in-kind and matching. They have since then recently have questioned those numbers because it's accrued numbers. It's the lease fees for I put in for 2 years of our lease fees for fiber backhauls and for the in-kind the county has done. As a result, we have received 50% of our billed equipment to date, which is also another impact. The FCC on April 14th starts charging us on all our LTE customers, which is the majority of our customers now, $2.20 per month per customer. An additional fee in addition to the $1. These fees we will have to pass on to the consumer as a fee due to it hits a major percentage of the profit margin, unfortunately. We had factory closures, as you know, in China. Every piece of equipment, whether it's our fiber lines that we have or our wireless, our equipment, unfortunately, is made in China. The factory closures had created a big hole in the flow of equipment, and it hit us 5 weeks ago. So 5 weeks ago, we stopped. Everyone in the country is out of our LTE radios for the house and for the towers. Today, our last 4 radios are being installed in Pittsylvania County. Crew out there right now at this very moment. So I'm told it's going to be late May to June before we have radios shipped to us. In addition, the FCC has a new system that controls all these radios. That goes into effect by mandate in April 14th. This control system, known as SAS, is something that we have worked with for a number of years to this point. It controls the licensing and all this. That's part of the fee that we're getting. It was to go into effect 14th, but unfortunately we were notified 8 weeks ago by the FCC that radios that we deployed a year ago will not be certified and cannot be used, meaning that we have to turn them off on April 14th. Okay? That effect is also a $50,000 effect to our company to replace these radios. We have negotiated with the manufacturer, we've got a pretty good deal and got it down to that, plus our labor. Fortunately, this morning, I'm leading into some good news. This morning, the FCC accepted our extension that I had filed. So we get 6 months before we have to replace those radios. So that's good news for us. We still have to replace them. I don't have to say anything about the coronavirus and the effects, but obviously I mentioned the shipping and all that. But we also have, as of today, our accounting department is working from home using our VoIP system, using our access to our network. And we'll play this as everybody else is day by day. But I want to underline that SCS will continue to provide services to all customers. We'll continue to expand as long as we can. We have, I apologize for being something that's handed out, but I have here our policy that has been issued to all employees. And basically, I've summarized this, is that we will be in business to take care of everyone. To the point that if there is a national or regional or state shutdown of everything, which is, as we know, is a possibility, I have obtained permission from the federal government that we can still get gasoline and travel to our sites, our tower sites, to maintain the network, because all ISPs are considered today critical networks. So we have that. Papers will be in each of our trucks starting tomorrow morning, if that comes to that. Those may have known that 2 hours ago our governor did say no more than 10 people in a meeting. So these things are happening by the hour at this point. So that's the coronavirus effects to us at this time and how we mitigate it. Anyone interested in seeing a policy, this was gathered. We had a national meeting yesterday of ISPs, and we developed our policies with that. These are not just policies of telling employees they will wash hands, they will do this after a customer, etc. But it is also what it's a mandatory. We have checklists, assigned office assigned spaces, customer service entries at our public spaces. There's a person responsible for doing wipe downs and cleans per customer and per time of day. Additional, I'm going to get some good stuff here. Additional spectrum for LTE is just around the corner. Currently, I'm testing between 75 and 85 meg from a house to our router that ties to a network here in Pittsylvania County. Okay, so we sell 50 meg. We can give a little buffer there for ourselves. We're testing a radio right now in 2 places in the state that does 220 meg. And it's working quite well. They expect to come out of beta next month. We also have additional spectrum. And what that means, we currently have this much radio channels to be able to get that speed, and it's going to triple. So we'll be able to do more speed and also have better separation and be able to put more radios on a tower to have more people. This I've known was coming for 7 years, because myself and 2 other people were responsible for getting the frequency from the FCI that we're using today. Been very involved in that. There's also coming down the pipe new white space rules. You've heard white space because I know you were involved in some of that. I experimented in it in the last 2 to 3 years. Did not like what I saw and what it could do and what pricing was. It did not match up. That's about to change with FCC rules. It's going to add additional spectrum again, bigger pipelines, and taking the equipment and letting us go higher. You had a height limitation that was awful. We're going to go higher and more powerful radios, the 15-watt radios. So that is very exciting, and that we'll be able to penetrate even farther out from our towers and yet still have speed. So that's coming, and we'll be very involved in that. We have get into our growth. Our growth, how it works when we bring up any tower, it's a growth scale that goes pretty much like this over a 2-year period. And a lot of reasons for adoption rate. Mainly, the first one is contracts, satellite contracts, DSL contracts, etc., getting people to join us, and then word of mouth, and then, of course, marketing. So we're seeing that now. Our growth rate here is about doubling every month, and we're pretty excited about that on the older towers. We do have some challenges. DSL in some places has been changed into what's called VDSL. So within a certain few thousand feet of a CO, it's not 5 meg anymore, it's 40. So we're developing products to compete against that. And we've been advertising those products on Airy and Grit and Brookneal and a couple other places down here to see what we can do, see what kind of products we need to do for increasing our sales in that area. We have additional expansion still to happen in this county. We have the 2 towers, New Roseville and Rockford. Basically we're waiting for equipment, obviously, for all of these towers that are on hold right now. That saying, we had made a decision in a meeting on Saturday that we're going to go ahead and build the towers without the radios, have everything ready to go. Normally we build up an arm that contains everything, the radio, the cabling, the switches, and everything that we need, and we just pull it up and attach it. It's We're going to break our way we do things. We're just going to have everything up there. It means an extra couple climbs for our tire climbers, and we'll take care of that. We are adding additional personnel always, and we have a new guy coming on that is a certified tire climber, which is great, but more than that, he is a certified tire trainer. So we'll be able to get tire climbers faster. Tire climbers are very difficult to hold and keep because of the 5G revolution and the shortage of tire climbers in this country. But that's our solution. That, and we've been using contractors, as well as supporting those that climb in our company. I do have, and again, this is up to you, where you want to receive a hand copy with coronavirus that I'll make available online for you, or if I got most of everybody's email, I can do it that way. And what I have for you is a current, let's separate it out here.
If you could,
I have a map of,
if you could send that to Mr. Hicks or Mr. Smithman, they'll forward it to us.
this is a map that shows what has been built, what links have been built, what tires are up, and the two that have to be done, and some additional water tower systems are on there that we suspect that will be part of our phase 2. Phase 2 will consist of these. Now, money. Even with everything we've built and what we've done so far, we still have a piece of change left, quite a bit of change left in our grant money. We've been able to reduce the cost of our tires significantly since we had originally submitted the RFP, the proposal for your RFP. We redesigned our towers, we redid everything from the wiring, power supply, up to the radios, and knocked a lot of money off. And yet having better quality equipment and systems. Such as that leaves us open in our expansion phase, which includes water towers and any other structures available, as well as any new structures available. So we're looking forward to working with the county and selecting these sites that we need. We already have quite a few sites selected where we will need to fill in holes where people need help. And there's plenty of money available for that as we move forward. The other thing that's on there, you'll see, it took a while to get there, but we do have a radio pointed to the Laurel Fire Department. We found that the Kentuck Tower had a line of sight there. Coming from a different direction, we don't have the tree problem we had to every other tower we tried. So we have one pointed that way, and we'll have a project here in the next several days to go and put that radio on. And as soon as we get the radios to transmit, we'll have that live for all those people that have the fire department tower. And we'll have the backup available, or primary, whichever they decide, for the fire department itself available. That's all I have. Is there any questions?
Anyone have any questions? Mr. Davis.
Mr. Stewart,
Yes, sir.
I appreciate your presentation. Just to give, I know that you're at the apex of stress. And the reason I say that from simple observation is that the demeanor that you possess today is quite different from the one I saw 2 years ago. With that in place, I don't want to add to any of your problems, but I just have a few questions I need to ask. The coronavirus Genesis project, which was started, we know, in Wuhan, China, it's made its impact definitely. And the question I have for you, sir, is the product. I did not know that the products that we got or we're getting, because I'm in the Kentucky area. Yeah. I'm glad maybe Gamewood needs to know about that tower, because I used to be on Gamewood. But with that in place and the espionage that the Chinese practice, and I don't need to go into all the federal level verbiage on this, it's my question, my concern is it reminds me of the wooden horse they gave back in the Titan days and moved into the city, and then they conquered the city. My question to you is this: the technology that you're using, being placed here in the county and all, could it be used for espionage for the Chinese to monitor our homes? That's just a question.
Oh, that's fine. I'll be glad to answer that. Very straightforward.
Okay.
No. What happens to a company that gets caught doing that? They're out.
Well, I mean, the United States has, I never served there. The United States has its own laws, but then now you're dealing when it comes to the internet and these other things of the mass media. Overseas, you deal with international laws, and I can assure you the Chinese regime, they're not going to enforce what we enforce over here. Go ahead.
They will not. You're right about that, but I'm just saying, look what's already happened to one company that's suspected of doing that. They have lost billions of dollars.
Okay.
The company that we deal with, and I'll give the name out, is Buy-Sell. It could be Telrad, it could be other brands, but we're using Buy-Sell. Buy-Sell, I have a very close relationship with their American counterparts. That gives me a lot of trust, which is one of the reasons I did choose them. They also have switched to Qualcomm chips, which is a very trustable company to say the least. And the other thing I'd like to say about this subject is I've been in technology full-time, 6-7 days a week since '73. The best way to put the possible risk is pretty minimal, in my opinion, simply because of what we can do if they do something at all. If we have any proof whatsoever. I have full trust in both Ubiquity, which is a company that's used tremendously in this country. I don't like where my stock is right now, but certainly that's the kind of trust I have in them. I would say this too, even in fiber and in many other computer networks. Oh, why aren't you using Cisco? I mean, let's use American-made something. Cisco, 80% of Cisco's are made in China. The other 20% is Germany and Yugoslavia. So when you start looking at the details of what you're using or what you're wearing, I think you might be surprised. We're interlocked with these countries. And one last thing I'll mention on your question is this. We produce a few tens of thousands of engineers a year in this country. China, 1.2 million. Now what does that mean? My theory is our problem in trade and loss of factories hasn't been anything but lack of our education system. And I draw that into a circle this way easily. Because they have so many engineers, they own 750 patents on LTE. Verizon's under a lawsuit right now by the company because they use one of their patents. So the problem, in my opinion, isn't that it's cheap labor. There is that. But the real problem is our education systems for the last 50 years, for 68 years, as long as I've been alive, it's been a problem. Of course, you're talking to someone who went to a two-room school in West Virginia. So.
Well, I appreciate that, sir. I didn't want to belabor you with the...
That's all right. I'm glad to get this out.
That's all I wanted to know, and I appreciate, if you're happy, I'm happy, but still, I don't trust really anybody until I follow the money, and I don't trust any of them, especially after I've been in this job. I want to thank you for your comments, sir.
Thank you.
Mr. Skaggs has a question, and then Mr.
Mr. Stewart, I just have a comment and a quick question. I appreciate all you're having to go through. The only thing I would ask, if we could get this information, maybe send us an update every once in a while with all the problems you're having.
Because that's no, I have an apology.
We're getting beat up on this pretty good.
Yeah, I was getting pretty beat up from the standpoint of the number of reporting. So granting is new. We built this company over 15 years on the income that we got from sales. That's where it went. It was hard for me to swallow the pill and have to go into grants. But
this is going to give.
So this whole process of grant reporting is new to me, and it's been a little difficult to keep up with. I have 4 DHCD grant reports due, like today, for instance, and so it's time consuming. But I promise you this, you will get a report.
Just giving us this kind of information, when people ask why haven't we progressed faster, this gives us a whole lot of ammunition to go back and say, having a lot of issues, but I'm looking forward to a 50 meg pipe, and like I said, where I'm at, that will be a godsend, and that's why people are beating us up when they hear that kind of bandwidth availability. They're screaming at us. But the only question I have, can you said you've been doubling in your growth. Can you give us an idea how many customers that you have, or did you want to keep that close to the vest?
If it's public, I don't. I'd be glad to, under NDA, privately to any county.
Okay.
And the reason is because of competitors.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
It's not just competitors. A really good example is in Louisa County. There's a newspaper that's backed by a supervisor who failed, become a supervisor who failed his election, and his whole platform was, don't build any towers. So when I told the reporter, who was very demanding, basically left me a message, do this or else, call me back. And I called him back, gave him all these great things that's happening there. We got 23 towers, right? All this great stuff, and he wanted my count. I said, we don't give out the count. Headlines was, SCS broadband won't give out counts.
Well, that's kind of what I
So
thought.
it's used against me, and unfortunately, but I'm glad to give it to broadband authorities or committees.
Well, I can tell you, Mr. Stewart.
It's good, though.
He's,
It's
we're
very
looking forward to getting I hope we can get all these things worked out. I know it's a heartache, but like I said, people are looking forward to the service.
All these problems is a period problem we'll get through.
I'm done.
Yes, sir.
I'm new at this, so you forgive me, but you say this project started about 2 years ago?
It started, all right, start dates are really fun, all right? So we had the award, the RFP went out in 17, awarded in late 17. 18, we didn't have a contract, the county didn't have a contract with the Tobacco Commission until March. We didn't have a contract with the county until June something, and that's when we started to look at building. The funds at that point was that in order for me to bill for a tower to the grant, the invoice could not be earlier than the date of the original contract between the county and the Tobacco Commission, which was March something. The pressure that you all see from public, we see it too. We get calls every day. I've got a phone bank that rings all day long. So SCS did stand up and we built a tower. Well, we built White Oak Mountain Tower prior to all that, paying for it. It was in the project to be paid for by the grant, and we went ahead and put that up and got it running and have a lot of people off as a result. So we're trying to do the same help as right now. We're not getting our grant money back in yet, but we're not stopping. We lit up 3 towers in the last week in different counties. Probably one right over in Halifax, by the way. We just lit one in Halifax at Boland's that will be feeding some of your some of your eastern side of the county. So
I'm on the southwestern part of the county, so I guess the easier question was, when are you going to have us up and running?
Southwest, you're near Brosville, I assume?
Yes, sir.
All right, not near Kentucky?
Opposite side of the world. No, that's over Fort China.
Okay, so Brosville's the next tower?
We call it Roswell, but yes, sir.
Yeah.
It's,
Now, I just talked with my 2 engineers in the field doing installs, and they were like 12 miles out from one of the towers, and they just let me know that they took note of 2 towers in the southwest. They're bringing me back to see if they're leasable. So that's part of this. We have about we've only eaten a fifth of the grant money at this point. If that all came in, a fifth of it. So we got 4/5 available. There are many towers still out there available for lease or spots to put up small community towers, the 120-footers. There's a lot that we can do here over the next year or 2. I did have one other, you just reminded me one note I did want to say. I will be submitting a formal request for an extension to the Tobacco Commission in the county due to the situation of no radios since late January. We've already done this for DHCD, which is a set that we just haven't had time to do it, but do expect that there will be an extension request. I was initially at the early stages back a month ago when I did that request. I requested 4 months. I think I might do like 6 with what's happening right now. Okay.
so when are you going to have us up and running?
In Brosville?
Yes, sir.
When I get radios. We'll go ahead and install everything but the radios in the next 2
Just
or 3
roughly what
weeks.
kind of time period?
I'll do the facts. My vendor, this one's in North Carolina, they tell me that it's going to be late May, early June.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
Anyone else? Thank you, Mr. Stewart.
Thank you, sir.
We are down to this monthly staff committee and our constitutional officer report. We're down to the monthly departmental spotlight, and we have our Honorable Vince Shorter here tonight.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, board members. It's kind of nice to see my name on the agenda. I want to start off by thanking you all. If you realize that I've been absent from the agenda from the Finance Committee meeting because I really don't need anything but your continued support, which I've gotten, and I appreciate that. I've always been supported by this board and previous boards and never needed to come ask for anything out of ordinary. So I appreciate that. So I don't take time on the agenda of the Finance Committee just to stand up and say thank you for what you have done, thank you for what you continue doing. Not because I don't appreciate it, but it's out of respect for your time and the time of the people that really do need to address you with more pressing issues. I submitted this slideshow presentation last week, so it would be part of your packet, and if you don't mind, I'm going to stray a little bit at the beginning before we get into it. Something I thought of after I had submitted it that I thought would be beneficial to share with you. My contact that I have with peers around the state and other localities from time to time, my entire time that I've been doing this, I hear horror stories, and they're more common than they're not. And I'm telling you this because I haven't heard it yet, and I don't think that other departments will probably go out of their way to say it. So usually if it does or doesn't need to be said, I'm usually the one to say it, or I'm going to say it. But I hear horror stories around the state all the time about how local governments and local governmental departments, sometimes constitutional officers amongst themselves, sometimes it's them versus county departments, how there's adversarial type work conditions, or they don't cooperate, or they don't get along. My experience that I've been here, starting my 5th year, that does not exist in Pittsylvania County. That the departments that I rely on, which are most, to get my job done, every time I've picked up the phone, every time I've sent an email, anytime I needed a request, and I'm here to tell you, I'm not always the most timely of giving someone 30 days notice, or a week notice, or 2 days notice. Sometimes it's, can you help me in 10 minutes? And I've never been turned down. And so I think every department that comes up and speaks to you all, they're probably not going to pat themselves on the back, but they really should. And you guys need to hear that, because sometimes that undertone doesn't get to the board, because you're not in the battle every day. But it does need to be need to be heard. And I wrote down some things you might would think, well, what interactions the Treasurer's Office have with other departments? You might would think the common ones, building and grounds, keeping us a facility and the lights on and the heat and air working, or IT, keeping our equipment and our computers going, and that's true, but it's much more than that. We have retention schedules for our documents, which I'm sure you're all aware of, through the Library of Virginia, where we have to retain these documents for a period of years, and every year we have to, our off-site storage is in the basement of the original courthouse. And so we have to take out the oldest year, properly destroy it, document it, send the records to Richmond, and we can only do this when the weather is just right, when the conditions in the office as far as our staffing is just right. So it's a little short period of time right before spring collection that happens. And it's quite an ordeal. So we get assistance from the sheriff for providing us labor of moving. It's a truckload of boxes. We have to get building and grounds to provide us a truck, a van body truck, so the paper's not blowing out of the truck blowing out of the road. And then once we get to the landfill, we have to witness them destroy the documents before we can leave. So we show up unannounced, which I'm ashamed to tell you, but like I say, it's all usually short notice of just when all these pieces can come together. We roll up at the landfill, they stop what they're doing, trucks are still rolling in, they destroy our documents in front of us so we can sign the affidavit that we witnessed that. And it's just remarkable how, maybe they should, but I've never been told that. You know, everyone is so cooperative, and I appreciate that. Some other departments that we would have interaction with that you guys probably wouldn't ordinarily put together with the treasurer's office is we had remote locations when we brought solid waste feedback for citizens to come to the various libraries. It was just once again, short notice, a couple email communications with Ms. Tooth. She gave us accommodations in the libraries when we needed them, where we needed them. We use Parks and Rec. You would say, well, what did the treasurer's office use Parks and Rec for? We use this room right here to conduct our real estate sales. When we're having tax lien sales, it's much better than the courthouse steps where you can't predict the weather, winds blowing, you're trying to sign legal documents or whatever. We use the Sheriff's Department to serve warrants, to administer and collect the solid waste warrants when we have to issue a warrant for people and have to take them to court for not paying their warrant, or to seize property, personal property, distress seizure warrant. The county's purchasing department to acquire the services and supplies necessary to perform our work. We work closely with the finance department, social service department, schools to balance their accounts monthly. We work with the community development department to help resolve when there's code violations intermingled with delinquent taxes, which are often the case. We work together to try to come up with a remedy for that. Human Resources does a remarkable job of screening and getting us and helping us attract and retain qualified applicants for employees. The Pet Center Animal Control works with us administering the dog sale program and the utilization of that as far as animal control later on to identify animals. County administration staff had to assist us with any items concerning the agenda and the board along with this tonight. Obviously, Commonwealth's attorney to help prosecute anytime we take warrants out to people, whether it's bad checks or the solid waste violations. Clerk of court, obviously for land records and maintaining our excess funds from our land sales that we conduct here. And the Commission of Revenue and I, of course, have to work hand in glove, which also is not common. That's a great working relationship in other places as well, but unfortunate here in this county. So I think it's about 18 departments overall. So before I took this job, if someone told me that you would have that much interaction with 18 different county departments, I'd have to scratch my head a minute and think, well, how are you connected to the landfill or the pet center or Parks and Rec? But we all are. And I just want to, once again, show appreciation for them and what they've done for me. So I'll start with our slideshow presentation. The treasurer is a constitutional officer that originates in the Virginia Constitution of 1870. The Virginia constitutional format provides local government with a system of fiscal checks and balances. This system allows the treasurer to perform their duties and responsibilities as an independent officer accountable directly to the citizens. Responsibilities include collecting real estate tax, personal property tax, motor vehicle license fees, solid waste fees, state income tax, estimated income tax, administration of the dog license program, administration of the motor vehicle license exemption for first responders, issuing payments for jurors, receipt and deposit of other revenues originating in other departments. The treasurer also maintains and balances bank accounts for all county departments, school division, and social services. It is the responsibility of the treasurer to appropriately account for the receipt and disbursement of revenue. They also invest public funds for the return on investment with security of the investment given the highest priority. It is the mission of the treasurer's office to perform these and all other required duties of the office within the constraints of the law to the highest standards of payment. refer to our employees as the face of the county, and here's a picture of a few of them there. We at the Treasurer's Office have, in my opinion, more interaction with the public than any other office. If you own anything in this county, you will have interaction with us at least once per year. And it is vital that we provide the highest level of customer service to the citizens we serve. If you don't pay all your taxes the first part of the year, you're going to have a minimum of 2 interactions with us, and more if you don't pay them by then. If you own a dog or need a dog license or other things, then you're going to have additional interactions with our office. These are our total number of taxable parcels in the county is 48,320. Number of parcels in the land use program is 5,096. You might wonder how that affects the Treasurer's Office, since that's more of a commissioner program that they administer. But every one of those parcels we have to keep a closer check on, because if they are not, their taxes are not maintained and paid by the following June 1st, then they lose. We have certified to the commissioner that is the case, so the commissioner can remove them for subsequent years out of the land use program. Number of real estate transfers, 2,567. Those also, due to the fact that we are a non-prorate locality, some people that transfer the deed, some closing agents do not collect all the taxes for the whole year at the time of closing, which causes us to have multiple interactions with the new owner of either them contacting us wanting to bill because it's still in the account of the previous owner, or what have you. Number of taxable personal property items in the county is 116,276. And the number of motor vehicle license fees that we billed to collect last year, these are 2019 stats, 58,438. And if there's more vehicles than that in the county, but if you remember that we don't charge motor vehicle license fees for any vehicles housed or garaged in localities of towns, Chatham, Gretna, and Hurt. They charge that fee themselves. So with all those things that require taxation, this is what we have to do in order to collect that money. Now these figures, you may wonder how out of 50 some odd thousand parcels you get 72,000 bills of real estate. Well, that's how many bills we mailed in June and December. So it's not double that, because some people pay for the whole year and we don't have to send them a bill in December. But the amount of bills that we send in June and December for real estate last year was 72,916. Real estate bills redirected to mortgage companies where escrows are paying the bills, 15,490. Business personal property bills, 4,019. Personal property bills mailed, 68,702. Solid waste bills mailed, 43,901. E-bills issued, a staggering 646, and I'll elaborate on that further. I'm sure you're going to probably have a concern on why that's so low, because I do as well. Delinquent bills mailed 24,873, and total bills issued is 230,547 bills last year that we had to take action on. Some supplemental additional information and change of address per NCOA, the national change of address, 5,803. Just a little quick background on that. In order to get the lowest postage rate, the post office requires you to submit everything you bill through them for them to verify the validity and accuracy of the address you have on file. When all of our data went into their file in 2019, that's how many conflicts that it showed, and they changed what we send to what they have, which is not always accurate. But to get that rate, you have to go along with their game. And then we have to go and update our system, because it's not automated just because they changed it before it went out to the person they're delivering it to. They send us a list of all the changes they made, and then we manually have to go back and verify, are they correct? We check it against DMV records and other information we have. And sometimes we just have to go with what they say is correct until proven otherwise, which is very time consuming to go through all those accounts individually. Return checks processed, collected 138, installment agreements processed 46, number of dog tags sold 4,606, solid waste fines processed 803, warrants issued for unpaid solid waste fines 139, which each one of those requires swearing out a warrant and an employee representative from my office actually attending court. Number of refunds or juror checks issued by our department 3,974, and number of cases submitted to unclaimed property 147. That may not sound like a big deal, 147 cases to unclaimed property, but if we have funds that we were trying to refund to people or give them a juror check and they won't cash their $20 check, they just tell us to keep it, which we just can't. After 12 months of multiple attempts of trying to get them to do that, then we have to submit these things to the Virginia Unclaimed Property Division. And that's very important considering that for every single instance that you don't do that, there's a $1,000 per day fine per instance. So just a failure to do that would be a $147,000 fine per day until it's corrected. Our office is accredited, fully accredited through Treasurers Association. Of the 131 total localities in Virginia, 95 counties, 36 cities, and there's even more towns, but I didn't include those that also have treasurers that could be. It puts us in the top half. By default, less than half the localities meet the accreditation standards in the state. While it's not required for any treasurer's office to be accredited, receiving accreditation acknowledges the office meets statewide best practices for performance and treasury management. As a part of the accreditation process, offices must successfully pass an outside audit with no findings of material weakness. Accreditation also requires proof of continuing education, written policies in place in areas such as personnel, customer service, delinquent collections, and there's many more specific to the Treasurer's Office operational standards that we have to meet annually to maintain that accreditation. The State Comp Board Career Development Program, our office meets the requirements of that program. 4 total people in the office are currently certified, myself and 3 deputy treasurers. 3 more we have on track to be certified by the end of this year. If our classes don't continue to get canceled or postponed due to what we're all dealing with at this time. Our goal is to have all of our staff certified in this program. Certified personnel allows the office to receive more funding from the state. So every year we go that people are not certified, we're leaving money on the table of the state, and that's not my objective. My objective is to get every penny from the state that we can. Stringent standards and collection percentages are some criteria that we have to maintain to be part of this program. Audited independently by the State Comp Board. The treasurer must be certified and remain certified. I got audited by the Comp Board last year for this program. The amount of documents that I had to send that I took to the post office filled a box that reams a paper company. That's how much documentation they needed, they requested for the audit last year. First time in the history of Pittsylvania County that we have a certified treasurer qualified for the standards of career development program, and the office being fully accredited all at the same time. As far as selling real estate for delinquent taxes, we attempt to conduct at least 2 auctions per year. I could sit and talk about delinquent collections for hours on end. It's one of my favorite things. It has a lot of little nuances about it. We're most successful when the properties are redeemed prior to the sale. When people really want to keep their property and they come and they have to pay us up for not only what they owe us, but for all the legal work that we've done to that point and make us 100% whole, that's when we're most successful. The attorneys that conduct our auctions tell us that we have one of their highest percentages, and they represent a lot of localities around the state of people that redeem property before it's sold. That initial ad publication letting people know that they're on notice that this is about to happen motivates a lot of people. So a lot of our valuable stuff, fortunately, it's a fortunate thing, gets sucked up prior to the auction. They'll just come, they'll go get a loan, they'll make a deal with other family members to rescue it or whatever. But that's where we're most successful in delinquent collections on real estate, is when the people that own the land want to keep it. In 2019, we conducted 2 auctions and sold 18 parcels of land. These auctions resulted in $127,704.15 being returned to the circuit court clerk as excess funds. We've claimed and received, since I've been treasurer, a total of $121,243.56 in excess funds from auctions over the past 4 years. Any questions?
Questions from board members? Mr. Dudley first and Mr. Farmer.
Yes, sir. How much real estate taxes is there out there that is unpaid as far as an amount?
About $3 million.
$3 million.
And about $1.5 million of that is 2019,
Okay.
which we really have no collection teeth yet. The way the collection teeth works in the real estate world is you have 20 years to collect it. It's collateralized by the land itself. So you're very little risk there, but it has to be 3 years delinquent before you can start the legal proceedings to sell. That usually takes 18 to 24 months, depending on the difficulty and the how complex the deed is. A lot of the stuff we actually have to end up selling has a dozen people on the deed, or it has 1 or 2 people on the deed that have been dead a very long time. And somebody in the family kept paying the taxes until a couple generations passed. And now there's 30 people. We had one parcel, the last auction we had, that we had to send 51 certified letters out to people that we identified as potential heirs in numerous states. It was 6 or 7 states. So to get that many people together to redeem a property hardly ever happens. So those are the ones that we actually end up having to sell, the really difficult cases.
How successful are we on collecting?
Well, like I said, most success is to get the people that own the land to feel like they're about to lose something they want. And that's when we're successful collecting. If we actually have to take it to sale, now there are rare occurrences. We had one back in September where it was a 100-acre tract. Well, 100-acre tract anywhere in Pittsylvania County is valuable. Usually has timber on it, this one did. And then that's where you get the excess funds that goes to the circuit court clerk. But for every one of those, you'll have 7 or 8 parcels that's a ½ acre or a 1/3 acre just off of a windy county road. And if a neighbor's not interested in it, you either don't have people bid on it at the auction, or you'll have speculators bid 200 or 300, and you got 3,000 in it, bringing it to auction, and you can lose your shorts. So we try to mix the stuff that is really good with a lot of the stuff that we know that's not going to do so well, with the hopes of the excess funds from the 1 or 2 properties. In 2 years, the way that works is it goes to the circuit court clerk. The heirs of the property can claim that money if they can prove that it's theirs. If they can prove that they're the heir to that money, they can claim it. If they don't claim it, in 24 months, I can claim it. And so that's what I hope to try to recover the cost of the ones we lost money on by that money that we bring back in from those cities. And we have some stuff on the books that doesn't exist. I just got today an order from the judge, the commissioner. A lot of your parcel numbers, if you go out and look at the delinquent list, whatever, and if the parcel number starts with 99999, that means there's a deed at the clerk's office, but nobody knows where it's at. It's off of Uncle Fred's boundary to Aunt Sue's creek, down to the river, before there was ever parcel ID numbers or anything. What we have found in some of these cases is that some of that land was divided up amongst heirs, and they never recorded the deed. And then when they passed, their folks, they gave it to someone else, then they recorded the deed. So we're actually taxing the same land twice under this unknown 9999 parcel that is just a deed. And by law, commissioner has to tax it if there's a deed to it. But in this case, we found out that the land was already being taxed under different parcel numbers. It was just a break in the chain of ownership, and we have a lot of that. We have, well, I wouldn't say a lot, but they're more than it should be, and we're working to clean it up. But there's land that exists that we don't know who owns it, and we've had people, I've even hired 2 different type of paralegal firms to research a deed, and they can never find a transferable deed. So we know the property exists, it has a map number, I can take you and walk you around it, but we can't sell it because we don't have a deed. There's no one in there, we can't create it. All we can do is transfer. And then there's deeds up there that exist in these ghost properties that are, I'm sorry for taking so much time, I can talk about this.
You good?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Paul?
Question and a comment. I'll start off with a comment. Thank you to you and your staff. I think you are top notch. You proved it with your certifications. You know, the customer service you all provide. You're in a difficult position because you're asking for folks to pay money, but you always provide great customer service. I hear feedback from all the citizens. But the question was, you brought up in your presentation e-bills. You said you thought you had a thought of why it was so low. So I was curious.
That's a struggle in the fact that I used to be a big advocate of email, but now with it being attacked so much, there's so many spam filters and junk filters. I get feedback from the public that when our mass emails for bills go out, they'll go and check their junk filter after the tax bill is passed, the due date, and they're angry because it was no fault of our own. So I have a lot of people, yeah, I'll sign up for e-billing, but I want my paper bill too. Because when I do my taxes at the end of the year, I guess they don't want to print out their bill. The other problem we've had with technology is when we send it out, if you don't have the most up-to-date PDF reader at home on your computer, then they say it's distorted. They can't see it. Looks perfect to me, because thanks to our IT department, we have the most up-to-date version. So they'll say it either cuts it off, or they can't scroll down, or, so there's some technology barriers to there. And I'm hoping to overcome some of that with this payment portal that we are working on Keystone with, where they can go to our site, and it's more web-based and not email-based.
Like have a login.
And they log in, set up their own account, pick their bills, and pay their bills or whatever there. I think it'll be far more productive than trying to send out e-bills. I've been very disappointed in that.
Any other questions?
Comment. I just want to echo what Mr. Farmer said. You know, nobody wants to give you money, but y'all make it somewhat pleasurable. You have a great staff, and thank you for what you do.
I have a couple of more comments and questions. In listening to your presentation and then looking at the delinquents that you inherited, because you've only been in there 4 years and some months. This is a personal comment. I'm not comfortable with the fact that it's really fair to our citizens, even if it costs us money, that are paying their bills, to allow folks to just sit out there because it's going to cost us some money to go get the property. I'm very uncomfortable with that as a taxpayer that pays my bills, that somebody's just getting away with not paying them because it might cost us some money. The second thing is, as those numbers are consistent out there for very late, I think we need to be extremely proactive as a taxpaying citizen. When somebody gets 3 years, we go after it immediately. Because you said yourself in your comments that the ones that know they have something to lose will come forward the quickest. And I understand it takes 18 months sometimes to get a process and all that. But if we do that, we don't let them get 9 years or 7 years or 6 years. So we need to be, I mean, month 36, we over there at court getting the judgments on.
I agree with that wholeheartedly, and ever since I've been in office on the 37th month, well, not exactly, we send out delinquent notices. And then after delinquent notices go, we give them that one last time.
But they should have been getting delinquent notices every year following up.
They have.
So, I mean, I don't understand why we can't proceed on the 37th month. They've already gotten delinquent.
Right, well, 37th month is January, and we're still sometimes posting those payments that we just received, and we're spooling up the delinquent bills. But February.
I don't understand the inside of you.
Yeah, February is when we send those. And we just sent those in February, the 2017. Everything 2017 and older is at the legal department for them to start sifting through. There is a lot of background work, and there's a limitation on how many paralegals are available. You have to, anything valued over 100,000, you have to get an appraisal, you have to get a certified appraiser to go out and appraise it. So it's a lot of steps, and you still have to sift through what's important to you until we get this backlog worked out. And I send everything to them and tell them to go full-hearted. And I'm already, as Mr. Smithman can attest, I'm way over budget and legal already this year.
Is this 36 months a state code or what?
Yes, a state code.
Well, then, you know, we need to be talking.
But you know, real estate though.
This is ridiculous.
You know, in real estate, because you have the 20-year statute of limitations, and you only have 5 years to collect your personal property and solid waste, we're in a panic to get that money that's about to expire in 5 years. Because if I had to choose between the two, of something that was being held by collateral and I've got a longer statute of limitation, or something I'm just by law going to have to write off the books because of the 5 years, 5 years roll around quick. So we put a lot of our efforts in those first 5 years. So the 3 years waiting is, and I don't know from a state statutory standpoint.
The way it's working out, and I know this isn't your fault, I'm just saying, I'm complaining about the system, not you.
Right.
Because you do a great job, and I echo the same comment that Ingram and his department said about you and your department, and you know that. You've heard me do that personally. But, you know, the system is broke when you tell me somebody, by the time we get to being on the courthouse steps or here, is going to be 4.5 to 5 years on a real estate deal. That's wrong. I mean, they've got 5 years of free whatever if they don't do it. And we're all sitting around here as taxpayers paying our bills.
But we won't lose as much, if any, if we can clear up that backlog. We have so much stuff that still have 20 years of tax that we should have never had, in my opinion.
Right.
But that didn't happen overnight. That happened over decades and decades and decades and decades of turning a blind eye.
Well, I have one other question. This may be a question for you or maybe even David. These real estate closings that occur, it should never happen that the taxes are not brought current, because they shouldn't be able to get a deed transferred. And I think that's one area that we should be 100% efficient on. I mean, that to me, I don't understand the inner workings of the office, but
We need a state law passed. North Carolina has that law. We don't. North Carolina has a law that you cannot transfer a deed until the taxes are paid. Virginia doesn't have that law. That's true.
okay.
And because of the 5-year thing, and I brought some numbers, of course, 2019, which we just sent out delinquent bills for, 1.674 million is still on the books. But once you get down to that 5 years later of 2014, we're down to $83,000. So there's a whole lot of money collected between where we're at today and in 5 years, it's almost all collected. Another way to look at it is if you do have cushion, and you should always have cushion financially in your budget, the person that's delinquent for 12 months pays an extra 20% in taxes. That might not be what you want to hear, but that's a huge budget item in
If they pay, but if they drag out to 5 years and you sell it on the courthouse, we probably don't break even.
If it's just 5 years, we probably do. The ones that don't break even are the ones that get 20 years taxes. And that's not going to happen as long as I'm living with stuff that gets billed while I'm in office.
Thank you, Mr. Short, great presentation.
You're welcome.
Mr. Warren, thank you. I have one statement to ask, a request not to you, thank you, Mr. Short, but that position that you took at North Carolina passed that law, that legislation council, BR, Mr. Chairman, put get you to write that up. So we can pass that on up to the General Assembly, but I'm gonna guarantee you this, I will put some money on this, anybody wants to take me on, that it will not pass because of the progressives up there, but I'm just saying, let's take a long shot at it, okay?
It has been proposed for legislation several times, and the realtors typically shoot it out. Is that a correct statement, Mr. Short?
They don't need anything, their friends are in there saying,
On their commission?
Well, let's,
Yeah, it's not to say we shouldn't be trying.
yes, Councilman, thank you.
All right, we'll move to item B, building maintenance request of Mr. Hicks.
Okay, we have a significant sewer problem at PCCA building. We gave you a copy of the current lease, which was actually signed in 2002. We've been working under the same lease, but that current lease says that they are responsible for the building, all plumbing, heating, air conditioning, electrical, mechanical devices, appliances, equipment, and systems of every kind and nature affixed to or serving the building in good repair condition and working order during the initial term and any renewal terms. They are currently paying us a rent of $200 per month. We've got two cost estimates. The first one being $12,300 from DA Plumbing, and the second quote from, Roto-Rooter for $8,900. You have a copy of those quotes. They were gotten by the staff there. Mrs. Ross and her staff has provided us all that information. They've also given you pictures. Basically, the system is failed inside the building and outside of it. So it's going to have to be fixed in the building, and it's got to be replaced from the building to the street. So that's the nature of the cost. But since their lease says they are responsible for it, she has asked the board for additional consideration outside of the lease. So the staff is just asking for guidance from the board as to what steps are being done. I think right now they're not even, they can't even, at this point, they can't use the facilities in the building itself. I think you have to go outside to work the potty for certain reasons. So I'll try and answer any questions Ms. Ross is here if you have any questions of her.
I see two quotes. One was the AA plumbing for a total of $12,300. Then the Roto-Rooter looks like it has multiple submissions in here. You know, they range in price, but there's one down there for $24,000. What are we looking at, Mr. Hicks? I mean, as far as pricing this thing, do you have a recommendation between those two or those three?
I don't know, because we didn't get these quotes. This just sort of gives you a thought as to what those costs are going to be. If it's paid by us, we would, obviously ask for additional quotes. Quotes, we usually, try and get at least 3 quotes.
Yeah, I mean, I read through it earlier. Once a camera inspection, they're saying that's $425. And then you mentioned there's inside and outside work. It looks like they priced the inside work for the $8,900. And then replacing the entire septic tank for the $24,000. So I was just trying to get an idea of what the total cost, if anyone knew.
I think yours, $12,000 and some dollars from the AA.
Yeah.
Is
Sufficient?
closer to what the actual cost would be. I'm not sure Roto-Rooter really does that kind of work. They do the inspection, they do the blockages.
It's probably appropriate that we, at the time, we defer this to our finance committee and building committees to take a closer look at where we're at, get more information, so we're not going on.
They can't use a restroom.
So we can talk about that. Thank you, Mr. Hicks. We'll entertain a motion that we go into closed session.
I'll make said motion.
You're
I was gonna make the motion there, Mr. Chairman. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Your dad's up.
Sorry about that. I've learned that. It's part of the real.
All in favor?
Please find the items that need to be added to tonight's work session. This has been work session, closed session. Consultation with legal counsel employed or retained by a public body regarding specific legal matters requiring the provision of legal advice by such counsel. Legal authority, Virginia Code 2.2-371188, subject to county sheriff cooperative agreement, purpose consultation with legal counsel regarding county sheriff cooperative agreement. Number 2, legal authority, Virginia Code 2.2-371188, subject to Pittsylvania County Code 35-50, purpose consultation with legal counsel regarding potential code revision. Number 3, legal authority, Virginia Code 2.2-371188, subject to Delta Response Team General Contract for Services, purpose consultation with legal counsel regarding Delta Response Team General Contract Services. Number 4, legal contract, Virginia Code 2.2-371188, subject to potential violation of county's physical policy, purpose consultation with legal counsel. Business meeting.
No business meeting.
Say what?
No business.
You don't read those till.
All right, I agree. Good, Dave?
You're good. That was a good read.
That's a good read.
Let's do a roll
Keep
call vote.
Roll call vote. Everybody listen up.
Mr. Davis?
Yes.
Mr. Dudley?
Yes.
Mr. Farmer?
Yes.
Mr. Ingram?
Yes.
Dr. Miller?
Yes.
Mr. Scares?
Yes.
Mr. Warren?
Yes. Let's please, we're going to eat in the same room. We're having the board, the closed session. Let's make haste over there because we got a lot to cover. And you don't have to worry about 7 o'clock. We're coming right back in here, but we only got an hour and 10 minutes.
You want to add those things to the business meeting, or you want me to take that back?
Go ahead, make your eye.
I'm now going to certify closed session. Be it resolved that at the meeting of the Pittsylvania County Board of Supervisors, the board, on March 17, 2020, hereby certifies by recorded vote to the best of each board member's knowledge only public business matters lawfully exempted from the open meeting requirements of the Virginia Freedom of Information Act, and identify the meeting authorized in closed meeting were heard, discussed, or considered in closed meeting. If any member believes that there was a departure from the requirements of the Act, he shall so state prior to the vote indicating the substance of the departure. The statement shall be recorded in the board's minutes. I'll now do roll call. Mr. Davis?
Yes.
Mr. Dudley?
Yes.
Mr. Farmer? Mr. Ingram?
Yes.
Dr. Miller? Mr. Scares?
Yes.
Mr. Warren?
Yes. We're going to adjourn the meeting. You got 4 minutes.